spotlight, and then we can get started. Yeah. Spotlight for everybody. Right. Hi, everyone. Good evening if you're in India, if you're in the US, good morning. If you're somewhere in the Europe, it could be good afternoon, good evening, wherever. It depends on where you are. So today we have a special person. This person I met through LinkedIn last year, sometime in May. She sent an invitation. I said, hey, I don't normally add people into my network if I have not spoken to them. So please come on a Zoom call. So she came on a Zoom call. We connected at a very, I don't know, first call was such a beautiful connection, as if we knew each other for more than 20 years, for whatever reason. So she lives in Hyderabad. I live in Bangalore. We wanted to meet. Sometime it didn't happen for whatever reason. About 3 months ago, she put this post on LinkedIn about nonviolent communication. I put a comment. She wrote an article. So I put a comment and said, Sudha, you should be talking about this in one of our masterclasses. She said, really? I said, yeah, come on Zoom call and talk about it. So that's how we got, and then we kind of spoke about 2-3 topics, and then I finally, Sudha said, this will do it for the coaches, because this is a topic anybody needs to know anytime in their life, and especially for the coaches. So that's how Sudha is here. Sudha is a PCC coach. She's on a fast track. Apparently, she got her PCC about 2 years ago, Sudha. And she's already on a fast track to, I don't know, maybe she'll get an MCC in the next 1.5 years. God only knows.
I would say Tathastu, Shri.
Yeah. So with that brief introduction, I shall leave this flow to Sudha. And Sudha, as I mentioned to you, I'm your assistant for today. Whatever you want me to do for you, just let me know. Breakout rooms, if there are any, I'll do that for you. And yeah, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy your show. And I'm going off spotlight. Okay.
So thank you so much. And I just want to start the session with my gratitude. The first one is to Shri, as he mentioned, for creating this opportunity for me to share my thoughts, my learnings, my experience of how I have used nonviolent communication and how it also is actually helping me in my coaching practice. And my gratitude goes to all of you who actually registered for the session, and especially after hearing it from Ravi that there is a parallel session by ICF Bangalore chapter, but you chose to be here. You just not registered, but you also showed up here. So thank you so much. And I also know that there are people, sometimes they register and for some reason they can't attend, but they catch up with the recording. So for all of you who will be watching this recording, thank you so much for sharing your time and your mind space in here. Yeah. So before I actually, say anything, I just want to understand, what does nonviolent communication mean to all of you? So I'm just going to open a Mentimeter survey. And probably there are 2 questions which you can probably quickly answer. And then I would also share the screen. I have shared the link and the code, whichever works well for you. Like, for example, if in case you're wanting to use the link, you use the link, or you want to just go to menti.com and type those code, you can access those questions. So are you able to see? You can also use the QR code. You can take your mobile, go to Google Lens and click on the QR code. It will take you to the menti.com.
I've already responded to, so I think everybody should be able to do it.
Yeah.
Should we quickly take this survey, Sudha?
Say that again.
Should we quickly take this survey?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay.
Are you able to access the menti.com? Okay. I already see people are sharing. I hope you're able to see my screen. I'm sharing the results here. Okay. Compassion seems to be the topmost. Compassion, empathy, listening, sensitive, respond and not react, non-aggressive, polite, considerate, well-worded, seek to understand, being seen. All right, we just give it a minute. When you finish the first one, you also have another quick question for you to answer. Hope it's showing up for you, for those who of you answered the first question.
Yes, it does, Sudha, and that's been submitted.
Yeah, great. Okay. All right. So it's on a equal score. So what I hear is either you have been hurt or you have experienced somebody has got hurt with your words. All right. Let us give it another 10 seconds. I see 15 of you have responded. All right. So I think most of you are in agreement that hurt is something that is either that we experience very often, or there are times that we hurt. But I'm equally wanting to share this. When you probably heard somebody saying that, I really got hurt by your words, or when you said that, I really got hurt by your words, were there surprises for each other there? Like, for example, right, when I said something and then somebody got hurt, do you think that I can be surprised by their hurt? What do you think?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah? And the vice versa is true, because none of us actually intend to hurt, isn't it? Intentionally, we don't want to hurt anybody, but the impact created is hurt. So how are we making this possible? When our intention is not to hurt, but we end up hurting, the impact created is somebody is getting hurt or somebody hurt us. So what I'm trying to say is, though the intent is good, there are times, because the way we say things, we can unmindfully hurt somebody. So in my whole understanding of nonviolent communication, for me, I think what I understood about it is, if I need to put it in simple terms, right? What is nonviolent communication? Then it would mean a communication that does not hurt others or self. And it's also a communication that actually kind of helps us to connect with others and self. It's not only that we don't hurt, it's also a possibility that we can connect. Connect to what? Connect to the feelings, the needs of others and self. So this is not a one-way street. We can use nonviolent communication with others, and we can also use nonviolent communication frameworks to understand more about our needs and our feelings. Hope you're all able to see my screen. Yeah. So what is the heart of nonviolent communication. Of course, as many of you said, empathy is the first thing on that, right? So it's like, how can we be empathetic? And it's also based on how do we identify the needs of others and self? And how do we move from blaming to taking responsibility for resolution, especially in a conflict situation? And how can we express ourselves in a way so that others can understand our needs? And how can we also help others understand their needs? Thereby, we both feel connected, understood, heard, and we feel seen. Some of you had mentioned, right, I want to be seen in the communication. So how do we make each other feel seen and heard? So these are the 4 important aspects of nonviolent communication. Any questions until now? Anything that you want to share? I want to make this not as a one-way communication where I'm an expert on the subject and then, I'm going to say whatever I want to say. Let's make it more engaging, more conversational, so that we really understand from our real lifetime examples. Is that a good expectation to have for me today? All right, great. So I almost saw everybody equally agreed, right? There have been times that you are hurt and there are times you have hurt others. I want you to quickly recollect a situation in which you experience either anger or hurt. You can either quickly make a mental note of it about what the situation was, who said what, and what happened. Or if you have a pen and paper handy, I would want you to probably in 2 to 3 lines write, what was that situation? And if I need to ask you to describe it a little later, how would you tell me about it? Yeah. I'll give you a minute so that you can recollect about the situation and quickly make a note as if you need to explain to me in 2 to 3 lines, how would you go about doing it? I know some of you may be thinking, oh, I don't want to really share, Sudha. It's not that you have to share. Maybe whoever is comfortable, whoever would like to volunteer can share. And as always, you don't have to mention names. You don't have to mention who said what, who said to who. It can be you, or it can be even situations which you have witnessed. But it becomes really effective if you were involved in the situation. So any one of you can give me a thumbs up to let me know that you got the situation. Okay, I'm seeing Nirali. Okay. Should we move ahead?
I saw Anurag putting up his hand. Anurag, do you have a question? You put your hand up.
Yes, Shri, I did have a question.
Please go ahead and ask.
Yeah. Sudha, I've gone through this book, the OFNR model, and
Okay.
and then I've seen some videos of Rosenberg where he talks about how he went to some conflict situation in Middle East and how he's able to navigate things. But my question is that when we look at certain stressful conflicting situations, a lot of times the model may be effective in due course of time, but it's also a bit dependent on how the other person in the conflict is looking at the entire communication. If they have a very short-term way of looking at things, then no matter what words one uses, they are clouded by judgment because it's a conflict situation. It happens with us as well. In a conflict, if we have made our own judgment about something, sometimes we are not able to view a very alternate and diverse point. So, in your experience, apart from OFNR, is there something else that's more useful in the Indian context that helps in such situations?
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you feel that OFNR is probably not very useful in the Indian situation, and you're wondering, it is not just enough that we understand the model, especially when other person is coming with a lot of judgments. how is this going to be effective? Did I understand the question right?
Yeah, the question is more from a short-term, a very short-term interface. While in the long-term and medium-term, this will work.
Yeah.
Certainly because you get more time with the person in the conflict. But in a very short-term interface, is there a more effective way of using this model?
Yes, yes. In fact, to me, in my experience, the way I see it is, even if the other person does not understand anything about it, as I told you, this model helps you to connect with yourself and also connect with others. And how do we use this in a way that we help the other person connect with their feelings and needs, even if they are going to come with judgment? Probably we will take an example as we move through. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I know many of you here in this forum are either trained coaches or credentialed coaches. And I also know some of you are not. But here are some 10 statements that I'm sharing with you. And I would want you to identify which are the statements which are just statements of observation.
I think in the screen share, we can see the answers also. So it's making it easier for us to actually participate.
Oh, thank you so much, Krishnan. I didn't know that it was showing that as well. Okay. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Is it now showing up for you? Are you able to see it?
No, Sudha.
Your screen is not visible, Sudha.
Okay, tell me what is visible now.
Now it's come
Yes,
up. Your
it is.
slides
It
have
is
come up.
visible now.
Not in the PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, are you able to see it as a slideshow?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Krishnan. Yeah, are you able to identify out of this 10, how many of them are just statements of observation, according to you?
I think one.
One?
I noticed one. Yeah.
Okay. What are others thinking?
So I saw the answers.
I've answered in the
Which is
chat.
why I'm not responding.
Okay,
For
I'm
me-
not able to see the chat screen when I'm presenting, so
So I think it's 3, 7, and 9 are observational
okay. And why do you say that, Goldie?
because there's specific data that's backing up the statement, and the others are judgment based on your own observation that you feel. And there's nevers and always, those are red flags.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Goldie is right, and I'm very sorry for sharing the answer so obviously earlier. Yes, but I think what she said is perfectly right. See, when the statement, you never listen to me, it's a loaded statement, though it's just a statement which is just from 5 words, but it's a loaded statement. It's an interpretation, it's a judgment, it's an evaluation, right? Whereas when you see number 3, it says, I noticed that you walked away from the room while we were talking. It is like just stating what this person noticed. There is no judgment, there is no evaluation, there's no interpretation, there's no meaning making there. And there's no criticism, and there's no blame. In the first statement, right, there's a lot of blame. As I told you, the heart of nonviolent communication is, how are we going to communicate in a way which does not hurt others or self? And how are we going to others and also help others to connect with themselves? So there are 3 things. So we use the same framework to do all this, right? So when you say you never listen to me, there's so much of blame happening. And every time when we give a statement of judgment, a statement which is blaming in nature, or a statement which is evaluating, what we trigger in others is immediately a defense. And then in turn, they are going to say something which is either going to justify what they did, or they are going to probably say something more which will hurt us. I'm sure all of you would relate this. These are statements which we probably hear day in and day out, either in our professional spaces or in our personal spaces, sometimes even in social spaces when we're hanging out with friends, right? The intention is definitely not to hurt, but what it triggers in others is defense first. So, which somebody said, you've seen the answer. So can you see the difference between 3, 7, 9 and the other statements?
So I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
In the 7th statement, it says, I see you are busy with your mobile. Isn't you are busy an assumption or a judgment that I'm making?
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's not a plain observation.
So where do you see the possibility of getting hurt or triggered with this statement? The word busy?
Busy, yeah. I'm making an assumption that they are busy on this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what does busy mean? I think that's where we need to go in, right? Somebody can think, okay, you're busy with your mobile, or I see you're using your mobile, is a plain statement of observation. But for somebody, busy could mean something. Busy could mean many things. Yeah. So we need to understand, what does busy mean for, if that is hurtful or if that is triggering, then we need to ask, what does busy mean in your dictionary? Yeah, do I make sense? Yeah.
I would like to say that if it was replaced with I see you are interacting with your mobile.
Yeah. So the whole idea is, it's not so much so about the language here, but it's also about understanding the feelings and needs of others. So if this word busy can hurt somebody, then we truly understand, okay, what is this triggering for them? When we say this, I see you're busy with your mobile. And if this is a statement that's going to hurt or trigger somebody, then it's our, earlier, you asked this question, in short term, how do we make this possible when somebody is coming from a space of judgment or hurt? So what we need to understand is, okay, what exactly about this is hurting them? What is that making them feel?
Sudha, since this is just a written statement, is it okay to understand that when we engage in a verbal communication, our tone also displays our intent or conveys our intent? So the entire tone sets the mood for the meaning of the word. But since this is just a written communication, it's okay to give that benefit of doubt that there is no judgment lying within the word. But then verbal, the entire scenario might change.
Yeah, verbal. So we are taking the major part of the communication here, right?
It can become more like an attacking statement where you are accusing me of not paying attention.
Yeah. it's also in the way we read it, right? When it's just a written statement. So
Yes,
it's also probably our mental disposition will also influence the way
yes,
we are reading it.
absolutely.
So you're very right. We are taking out the major component, which is the body language and the tone here. Yeah, thanks for saying that. So observation is simply describing the situation without any judgment, without interpreting it, without any evaluation or diagnosis. And I'm sure as coaches, you would appreciate this is what we practice day in and day out. How are we going to share what we are noticing in the client? And most of the time, we tend to do it in a very tentative language or giving the client the benefit of doubt to clarify what we are noticing and sharing, isn't it? So it's even more important that, like a camera would probably record something as is. It's not going to add anything to it. So how do we practice this state of observation without adding any of these things and just say things as it is? Like in the earlier case, I see that you are getting up and walking out of the room when I was talking, or I see that you are probably interacting or using your mobile when I was talking. So try to keep it as neutral as it can be so that the other person is not getting triggered and it doesn't invoke the difference in them. In fact, J. Krishnamurti, I really like this saying, what he said, right? The ability to observe without evaluating is the highest form of intelligence. It's actually not very easy. So you need to be very, very aware when you share something. Okay, is this statement free of my evaluation? Is this statement free of my judgment? Is this statement free of any diagnosis? Or how much am I interpreting what I'm seeing here? In fact, Marshall Rosenberg says, a conflict, all conflict is nothing but a tragic expression of unmet needs. And he says that every time you feel anger, depression, guilt, shame, or for that matter, any feeling which is not very pleasant enough, which is not empowering you, is an opportunity for you to learn something about your unmet need and feelings. The whole model of nonviolent communication has 4 steps. The first one is observation. The second one is identifying your feelings. The third one is understanding what is this need behind this feeling. And the fourth one is making a request. So you remember you all had made a mental note of a situation in which probably you experienced anger or hurt. Yeah. So I'm just giving you a list of emotions here. Probably you can identify, this may not be very exhaustive. There can be emotions or feelings which is outside the list here. Feel free to share. Can you identify in that situation, what did you feel? Yeah.
It's generally a combination, Sudha.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like for instance?
For instance, I felt helpless and impatient.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Another thing is we never feel any one feeling. Whenever we feel, there is always a list of feelings, a mixed emotions. Probably we identify the top one, but as she very rightly said, it's always a combination of 2 or 3 things. We never feel any one emotion in isolation. Yeah, Dr. Simi, I'm seeing your hands raised. And
Yeah.
after that.
I wrote that situation, when you told me, and when I look at the words here, I can pick angry, sad, devastated, and also very tone. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Goldie?
Yes. So I want to say that there's also a situation where you can blame your own thoughts and therefore you have coexisting emotions because you're blaming your initial emotion. Let me explain. So
Yeah.
if I say I'm confused by what I've just heard, but then I feel like I shouldn't be confused, I should have known the answer, so I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, yeah, you're very right. That's why I said we should feel one, right? There is a secondary emotion for the primary emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. There can be times we're just feeling 3-4 things at the same time. There can be times, as Goldie said, we are feeling this, and then we have another emotion for that as a response to it. Thanks for sharing that, Goldie. Yeah, so I think Dr. Simi, you shared, right? You felt angry, sad, torn, devastated, all of that, right? And then I hope others have also made a note of the feelings that you went through in that moment. Now, when I said, right, the one important thing in NVC is first to identify and recognize the emotion. When you're hurt or when there is an emotion that you feel, first identify it, name it. And then if you see, every emotion or every feelings is a pointer towards our needs. So either those needs are met or it's not met. So when needs are met, probably the one which is on the blue on the left-hand side is what you would feel. And when needs are not met, the one on the red, that's what you're going to feel. In fact, there is a list of universal needs. They call it universal needs because all of those needs at some point in other are our needs as well. So everybody shares that. That's why it's called universal needs. Like when you say, I have a need to be heard. I have a need for respect. I have a need for clarity, right? These are needs for all of us. It's not like we have this need only for some people and not others. Maybe in this moment, there is a different need, but these are needs that everybody has a need for. That's why it's called universal needs. Maybe I will share that list. In fact, they have a list of feelings and a list of needs that's published by Nonviolent Communication, which is many times used as a practice, one, for us to improve our emotional vocabulary, and it also helps us to identify and get familiar with more and more emotions and what are the related needs that's being met or not. So would anybody like to share the situation? Dr. Simi, you had actually shared your emotions. Would you be comfortable?
Oh, yes.
Would you be comfortable to share the situation as well?
Yeah, I'll be comfortable. I'll be comfortable. I was going through a rough patch, a couple of years back, through a very rough patch in my career. And this was during the post-COVID time. And I communicated to one of the close members of my family that I'm not feeling good about it. I never expected that I will go, being a doctor, I'll go a rough patch through my career because, after so many years of being practicing and all that. And that person, who happens to be a close member of my family, immediately said that whatever you're feeling, I see it as signs of having, some kind of psychiatric disorder. And it might be, that it was very vague, I don't even know where it came from. But this person said that maybe you might be having some family history and you're not aware, but that is why you're feeling this way. I was only communicating that I'm feeling sad that I'm going through it. Simple as that. And I'm very wary about what words I put into, my sentence. No, this from me that I might be having something like this. And that was really the most devastating experience when it comes to a communication in my life. So this is what.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So when you were sharing, I think the other person just came with their own diagnosis.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was a doctor too.
Exactly.
So it was really shocking that, to hear something like that, it was really I still, now when I was writing it, I could feel that numbness running through my body even when I was remembering that, though it's like almost 3 years back, and then that person later on apologized and everything, but I can't, it's very difficult thing for me to even forgive that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Simi, may I ask, what was your need that was not met that day?
The need that day of just being heard, of being helped, probably because this person is a senior in career-wise, professionally, and I had personally gone looking for some kind of direction as to what is to be done. So I was looking for direction, I was looking for hearing, and I was looking for empathy.
Yeah.
That, and this had just happened after, like, I had overworked myself during the COVID pandemic. And for some reason, there was, some reservation scenario came, and I just lost my seat in selection because the kind of project I was working in. So I had just gone looking for empathy, understanding, a direction in my career, that what I should be doing next. Should I be taking up the situation with the, seniors in the hierarchy? And even listening to the pain of, that after doing so much, why this has happened to me. That's all I was looking for. Yeah.
So here's a person who went with diagnosis, and what Dr. Simi was wanting was just understanding, empathy, and some direction, and that need was not met, which made her feel angry, sad, devastated, torn. And she said, even now when I think about it, I felt very numb around the situation, right? Dr. Simi, may I know, how did that situation end for you? This is how you were made to feel, but how did that end?
In that moment, I remember that after hearing that, though I was very broken, my statement, I still remember very clearly. I said, whatever you have said is uncalled for.
Okay.
And I don't know from where all this is coming, and why are you commenting in this way? And I walked away. I just got up and I went out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this, because this is exactly I'm trying to, probably demonstrate, and your example is a great example for us to work on. So, as I told you, nonviolent communication framework helps us to understand and connect with ourselves first. So here, the feeling Dr. Simi went through is anger, sadness, devastation, feeling torn. And if she understands her need for understanding, empathy, being heard, then it allows us to make her a request. Here is what probably we can say it in a non-violent way. When I heard you saying this statement about me, you're making a diagnosis, it makes me feel very angry and sad. It's like stating the observation. When you said that, probably I'm going through some psychiatric issue, it is making me feel angry, sad. And my need here is to be heard. I was looking for some direction from you. I was looking for more understanding from you. And she can make her request, saying that I really request you to not make any more diagnosis around my situation. This is what I have come for. And if you can help me, I would really appreciate that. Goldie, I see your hand up, and Krishnan, I see your hand up.
Krishnan was first. Please go ahead.
I think it was fantastic to know how probably you're saying Dr. Simi should have responded. So are you saying that she also made a diagnosis, though she was feeling hurt and devastated? In that moment, she also made a diagnosis of the situation by commenting that this is uncalled for?
Kind of. That is what I told you, right, Krishnan, initially. When we actually share a statement of judgment, or we interpret, or we are criticizing, or we are, probably evaluating, what we trigger in others is defense. And then they could say something in turn, which can be hurtful to us as well. So when Dr. Simi said, however, she might have said this is uncalled for, even if the other person realized, oh, I think I did something which I'm not supposed to do, they will in turn feel very hurt or guilty or whatever it is. Did I answer your question, Krishnan?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Goldie?
Yeah, so I've actually been using NVC for some years, and I wanted to give an example where it's been used by me.
Mm-hmm.
However, the receiving end, the recipient, I think was pretty held back in their tracks because I made the observation without labeling or judgment. And this created for them a defensive demeanor.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give the example, it's easier to understand. I was attempting to have a Zoom call with somebody for the first time, a complete stranger who I was introduced to in my professional circle. And for a various number of reasons, the other party was constantly either delaying, canceling, or at one point even didn't show up to the call that was scheduled. And I waited for 20 minutes, after which they said, oh, I was held up and let's reschedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept quiet and we tried to reschedule. However, my observations were there the whole way through. There was no apology for the no show. There was no follow-up on the previous delays. And ultimately, I realized I have to give a feedback here to this person. And I said, look, I just want to make some observations. So I made the observations, all the data that I had collected through my interactions with this person. And I said, I think my need for clarity and respect has been unmet on not one but various occasions. And my feeling is that we don't align on our values in the way that we want to work. So let's let it go. And so this person responded and said, I don't know where you're coming from.
Okay. Okay.
And it's very normal to have no-shows in the business world. I said, maybe in your world, but not in mine.
Yeah.
So of course I had all my feelings, but I did what I possibly could to respond in a manner of using NVC, but the other person got very defensive with me.
Thank you so much, Goldie, for sharing this. I'm going to pick up that statement which you said. I just shared my feeling that our values are not aligned. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Goldie, that's a thought. That's an evaluation. What you felt is something else. What did you feel? This is a thought. Many a times what happens, that's why I said, when we share our thought will also be sometimes loaded with these kind of evaluation that our values are not aligned. What happened was, in this situation, if I understood you rightly, this person did not show up, made you wait, and there was no follow-up, and this has happened a couple of times. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And in your mind, you felt that your values are not aligned. But what did you actually feel when this happened so many times? That this person made you wait, this person did not follow up, this person did not apologize. What did it make you feel?
Oh, I felt exasperated and angry, and however, I kept those to myself because I recognized that there's a need being unmet. So that's why I then said to the person, one of my needs is respect for time, punctuality.
Yeah.
And I can see that this is not something we share. Hence the values thing that I mentioned.
Yeah. I think you did all the steps so beautifully well, Goldie. But you know what happens in nonviolent communication? The moment we slip even on one sentence, which can be our interpretation or which can be our judgment or evaluation, people catch on to that. And they want
Yeah.
and they want to
Which is-
defend themselves. And
That's, yeah.
and that evokes some kind of a emotion for them, which does not allow them to be vulnerable enough to accept.
Hmm.
So
Yes, you're right. You're right. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Anurag and Krishnan, I see both.
Actually, yeah, I think Krishnan was before me.
Okay.
No, I think you answered. I think that's exactly what I also had in mind. I think when Goldie said that she knew that her unmet need is not going to be maybe realized with this set of people with whom she was dealing with, I somewhere got a feeling, which is also bordering on judgment, is that she went ahead and said that, so therefore our values don't align, so therefore we may or may not work in future. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a judgment. So I wanted to only clarify or confirm whether I am thinking or I am judging.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anurag and Nirali?
I felt, my first question that I asked about the short-term one,
Yeah.
I feel that, sometimes while this model is excellent, but like you mentioned just now, in our usual day-to-day communication, when if we slip a couple of lines here and there, then like in this case, I'm just trying to think that when the word value was used,
Yeah.
values is a very deep word, and the moment you say something on those lines, it can make the other person highly defensive.
Exactly.
And that's because, in my coaching experience, I've seen either people are not clear what the values are, but still they hold them very clear. They treat them as principles or beliefs, which may be different from values. But values are dear to people, end of the day, in a subconscious sense. So the moment we judge values, it will evoke a defense mechanism in the other person. However, if we use OFNR and we go into the feeling mode and the observation mode, then I guess the other person may understand kind of anger or disappointment that Goldie must have felt because of because of the loss of time that happened. But that loss of time getting into a values thing may be a general statement, and that may evoke a huge defensive mechanism in the other person, is what I feel.
Yeah. In fact, Goldie, if respecting the time is one of your value, it can come as a request. Instead of saying, I feel our values are not aligned, you can even make it as a request, right? I felt this, and then, my need of this is not being met, and I really request that my time is valued.
Yeah, you're right. However, I don't know if you missed it, or maybe I didn't say it before. This person actually said, there's always delays in meetings and people don't always have to be on time and people miss meetings. That was the statement that really, I guess, triggered me. So of course, but the theoretical analysis is spot on, and I want to thank you for that. However, there was this add-on trigger that obviously I was triggered by.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. This is what exactly I'm talking about, right? So that person actually trivialized what Goldie was saying. This really hurt her. And then that person is saying, this is just common to happen in business meetings. And a kind of devaluing or trivializing whatever it was happening there. And in turn, Goldie will feel to say something. However, her intention is not to hurt. She may have to say something like this. And that will again invoke defense in the other person. And then they will say something. And that's how we never resolve. I know it's definitely, while it's a very simple framework, as I always say, simple is not easy. But as coaches, I'm sure you all would appreciate, especially the skill of observation. We cannot slip on that. The moment we slip on that, our client will show us the mirror. They will say, no, that's not what I'm feeling, or that's not what I said. As I shared initially when I started this presentation, right? Practicing NVC for me is like a net practice, especially when I'm using this either in my professional space or in my personal space, even at home for that matter, or even any social spaces. I use it like a net practice so that I improve on my competency of what I observe and how I observe. And when my statement is not just a pure observation and there is something more, or if I'm not vulnerable enough to share my feeling, instead, I share my thought. Many times we say, I feel this, I feel that, but most of the time it will be a thought. So it's very important for us to use feeling words, and it's not, I feel that you, then it's not a feeling. So the moment we bring the other person in, it's not a feeling. Feeling is about what we are feeling. So we need to pay attention. So observation, is it free of evaluation, judgments, interpretations? A lot of that. Is it just my feelings or is it a thought?
So, Sudha, what I'm hearing from what you're saying is that if I tell somebody you are irritating me, actually it's not a feeling, it's a thought.
Correct. Correct. Or it's like the moment we bring the other person and then we put a feeling into it, we are blaming them. I am irritated because of you. That's what it means. You are irritating me. I'm irritated because of you. And then the moment we bring the other person, it evokes a defense in them. Rather when we say that, you know, for example, I don't know, whatever was the situation, when you did this or when you said this, this is what I felt. And my need here is this, and can we make a request? In fact, Shri, the first time when I got introduced to NVC, the first thought that came to my mind is, oh my God, such a small sentence. Now I need to talk so much to make it in a non-violent way. Is it even practically possible? Oh my God, I need to talk so much. I don't know how many of you are thinking like that now. This was my first thought when I first got introduced to it. Yeah, Nirali and Anurag, your hands are still up.
Let Anurag finish. Okay. So Sudha, what I'm understanding is, once we have our observations done, then of course we take responsibility of our feelings by understanding exactly what we are feeling. And it is our feeling. So we tell ourselves, and if we wish, we tell others how we are feeling about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the first point or the reason why we need to identify our feeling is further to understand what our need is here. Yeah, so
what it made us feel. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. What it made us feel, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But it made us feel like, you know, I'm still thinking about what Goldie shared. And again, I'm just trying to use that as an example to understand the concept, Goldie. If I've goofed up, please feel free to correct me. Probably, I'm not sure, maybe she felt disrespected. So because she felt disrespected, now the next step is like, what was her unmet need? So again, going by logic, she wanted that person, since it was a business meet, she wanted that person to respect her time.
Yes.
And her presence, and that wasn't met. So she felt exactly the same, disrespected.
Yeah.
Okay, and then based on that data, you just respond.
Yes.
Not react, you just respond.
Yes.
And can that response be as simple as I'm feeling disrespected with my time?
Yeah. See, when
is that expression also a response? I'm wondering.
Yeah, and giving the context is important for the other person. Because when we are conversing, what happens is the other person doesn't remember what did they do or say, which could have caused this emotion for you. So it's very important for us to kind of, you know, set the context. When you did this or when you said this, this is how I felt. And when I was just thinking, I think I have this need. Right? In Goldie's case, I think she would want her time to be respected.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying, that if the response is having an outside focus, can it become attacking? Versus if the response is with self, about, placing self on the forefront, that I am feeling disrespectful, so I'm taking responsibility of my
Exactly.
feelings.
So it's not exactly, you're very right. So the whole idea is moving from blame to taking responsibility to find resolution here.
Exactly. So
Right?
it does. So does all non-violent communication end with a response on not focusing on outside in an attacking mode, but taking responsibility and just making an expression about how you feel about it every time? Does that?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
the solution?
Yes.
So
And
like,
and it's also not about, convincing. Nonviolent communication is also not about convincing others.
yeah,
It's about
just
making
expressing.
connections. So this connection could be with self, knowing yourself more, knowing your needs more, or there could be times that we are also making a guess of what is this person probably feeling, or taking a guess of what need do they have.
So, Sudha, what I wrote in the chat box, if I'm not taking away your and
Yeah.
everyone else's time, if I may just quickly refer to what I wrote in the chat box. So with adult, it is different. But with children, I have a 9-year-old in my at my home, and my son is like super disobedient. There is this morning rush, and he never wakes up on time, and then he makes me and my husband run around, get my belt, get my tie, is my water bottle filled, oh my almanac. And every day it is the same story, that why don't you set your bag? I always remind him, have you set your bag? He says yes, but then still his books are lying around, and every day it is the same scene. So now that I'm reflecting on what you're saying, yes, instead of saying, Anhad, why don't you set your things right? Why don't you listen to us? Why can't you do it on your own? Maybe if I tell him that I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling unheard, not listened to, does that help? Does that help even a child?
Taking what you shared with me, Nigali, it could be like, you can call your son by his name and then said, every day when you don't pack your bags and, keep it ready for the school the next day, it makes me feel a lot of stress. I go through a lot of stress when you don't pack your bags. My need here is that I request you to keep your bags ready. Here, you're not making him, blaming him or anything. Or if you can even say, the last so many days I've been noticing that, I've been asking you to keep your bags ready, but it's not being ready. It actually brings a lot of stress for me. My request is that I want you to keep your bags.
So here I see a difference in your approach, that, sometimes non-violent communication can also be conveyed by expressing the impact of other person's behavior.
Exactly.
Right. The impact on self.
Yes. As I told you initially, nobody does anything to hurt others. He is not doing this to hurt you or your husband.
Yeah, obviously.
Right. He's doing it because probably he's feeling lazy or he's feeling not up to it, whatever it is. But the impact he creates on you is distress, which he's not even aware of.
Great.
But
So
what he might be experiencing is, out of your stress, you might be saying something to him.
Yes.
He might be experiencing that, and then he might be responding to that.
Absolutely. So I want to understand the response mechanism, that now if we go back to the case, now since this is my son, there is unconditional love and there is abundant forgiveness. So I'm not even thinking that there is that intention to hurt me. But if we go back to Goldie's example, can I express, can my response be like, for the last couple of meetings, there was no show, which made me feel disrespectful.
Yeah. In fact, if you remember, Goldie did all the steps right. Kind of expressed her needs. She kind of said what she wants. I think as I told you, right, the moment we make even one statement of judgment, people will latch on to that, and then they will start.
So the safer side is to just express the feelings and not change
Yeah.
the words.
And it's
Okay.
not about them.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
feelings, we have the right to feel whatever we want. And
Yeah.
we are saying, when you do this, this is what I feel.
Makes me
We're
feel.
not
Yeah.
blaming them there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Did
so
it
much.
explain?
Yes, yes. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right. All right. So I think some of you would have heard Anurag and others talking about nonviolent communication, OFNR. This is what this OFNR is all about. It's nothing but the first is you observe, make an objective description of the situation, and then identify the feeling that's triggered for you or for others. So if you're now trying to make a guess as to what this could have triggered for others, you're going to use a tentative language. You're not going to say, this is what you're feeling. As coaches, I'm sure you all understand, we use a very tentative language there. And then we will also identify our needs, which is underlying the feeling, or we will express others to identify their needs by, again, if, we can just ask them, what need of yours is not met here? For some people, they don't understand what need. I don't have any need. They might even say that. So probably they're not used to even recognizing what their needs are. So probably we may have to help by making guess. So I'm thinking your need here is for respect. I think you need clarity, something like that. So they might say yes or no. So that gives them an opportunity to clarify. And then you make a clear, concrete request to meet those needs, either when you're talking for yourself or you're helping others to make a request. All right, so I think we had enough examples already for us to understand how this framework is being used. But here's one I thought I will share with you. So it's not judgment, we use observation. So it's like when I see here, that's what we are going to say. Instead of saying, you never consider my perspective, here you're making a generalization, like you never consider my perspective. You're generalizing it, you're making it permanent, you're blaming the other person. There's also a lot of judgment there, right? Instead, we can try saying, like, I noticed in our recent discussion, there were times when my perspectives were not acknowledged. So this is like you're trying to make it as neutral as possible. I felt ignored and a bit frustrated. And the need is, I have a need to be heard and for respecting different viewpoints. And the request I'm making is here, could we set aside time in our meetings to hear out different perspectives for consideration? That's why I said, one simple statement, you never consider my perspective, we are done and gone. But it never ends there. It might be a short sentence, but it is built on. The other person will say, what makes you say that? Or where is this coming from? Or I don't agree to this. I have always considered your perspective, or I've always included you. So then the other person says something, and then we say something, then it just keeps going on. And it's more of blame, everything on themselves, their side. But the whole idea of NBC is we just don't only look at our feelings and our needs, we also help others to get connected with their feelings and their needs. Thereby, we can resolve this. Does it make sense? Any questions? Because the next one, we are all going to practice NBC. So how many of you are there here now? I think 22 of us, Shri. So ideally, we'd like
you want two people in a room, or
yeah.
So what we will do
maybe
is you
two
and I
or
are
three, not more. Yeah.
So you and I are hosts, so we can break
Two,
10 rooms and
two in a room. Two in a room will be good.
let me do that. Okay, so what we will do is you can stop
Can I
sharing.
just quickly ask a question, Sudha?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, you talk about universal feelings,
needs,
universal needs. So, is there like a list that is shared, or
yes.
And is there also something like universal feelings, something like what we have in the emotions wheel?
Yeah. It's like a list of feelings that's suggested so that it can help you to improve your emotional vocabulary, right? The
Yes.
basic, normally it is the basic 4 feelings that people will definitely identify, if not anything in detail, right? It's like you're mad, sad, glad, and scared.
Yes.
Right?
True.
These are some 4 things which people definitely identify. But as you very rightly said, there is this, wheel of
Emotion.
feelings which helps you to, drill down. Okay, am I frustrated or am I angry? Am I irritated or am I, agitated? It takes a while for us to understand.
Yeah.
While it doesn't really matter whether you use the right word here, but I think what's important is we kind of help our abilities to recognize more and more feelings.
Right. And then connect that feeling with a need. And how
Exactly.
important is that mapping to be clear and sharp? I'm just thinking, because people do struggle in identifying the right feeling. And now we are also telling them, identify the right, what was your need that was unmet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out in your practice and experience, how easy or difficult has it been for people to
Yeah. And I'm just curious to know, in fact, this we do in our coaching, isn't it? Yeah. We really help our clients to get in touch with what is this need, what is this belief, what is this value, which is underlying this.
True.
Right? And it's not that all the time we just tell them that this is your need. We help them identify it by our questions.
Yeah.
And then there are times probably we may have to make a guess if they are struggling so much to help them to connect with that need of theirs. This is part of our CC7 evokes awareness.
True. Right. Has there been a time when you've actually presented the universal needs sheet to people and told them that these are some of the universal needs, and is that
No, I have not presented to, if you're asking me if I've presented to my clients, no, but I have definitely used that for myself, for me to understand more and more about
clarity?
needs. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, there are times that people share these list of feelings and list of needs with the clients they work, and then they tell them, identify from this what feels like your need, which is not met. Or, which are the feelings that you are probably, relating to.
True. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thanks, Sudha.
Yeah.
Okay. Sudha, I'm going to give 10 minutes for each room. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. 10 minutes is good. And after that, we can come and share as to how did it do. Maybe we can have 2-3 sharings. Yeah.
All the rooms have got 2 people, except for the room number 8, which has got 3. That has got Anurag, Sarabjot, and Suman.
Okay.
Sudha, by default, you are going into room number 1, but you can choose to enter or you can choose not to enter, or you can just float around. Okay.
Okay. Before we assign the room, Shri, I just want to share this. Here are, 10 statements. So based on the room number, you can choose. Like, for example, room number 1 can take the group 1 statement here. Make a note of it. And then practice. How would you say this in a non-violent way?
Okay. So let me just read the room number so that you know which room you are in. So room number 1, Jyoti and Krishnan. Sudha, you can decide to join or not. Room number 2, Pooja and Subha Lakshmi Rashuman. Room number 3, Lydia and Poonam Oja. Room number 4, Nirali and Vaishnavi. Room number 5, Preeti and Shripad. Room number 6, Goldie and Prakash. Room number 7, Simiroy Mishra and Vibhu Devan. Room number 8, Anurag Mishra, Sarabjot and Suman. Okay, just make a note of your statements. And then
Lydia, did you have any question before you go in? I saw you coming in.
No, thank you. I will make it out of what short period I had. Thank you so much for your care.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so before you go into the rooms, are you clear what you're supposed to do?
Could you repeat exactly? Yeah, exactly what we have to do in that.
Okay.
So how do we work around, means do we take that statement and it's a conversation, or are we supposed to frame words or
Yeah.
choose? Yeah.
When you come out, this is how I want you to work on. Like, what's the observation? I know that this is just a statement. We may not actually know what the situation is, but you can take a guess as to how do you want to present it in a statement which is just an observation, minus any judgments, evaluations, interpretations. So, like, for instance, like how we work with the statement, you never consider my perspective. You have broken down into observation, feelings, and what's the need and what's your request.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you
Yeah,
come
thank
out after 10 minutes, you would share what is your OFNR.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall I open the rooms?
Yes.
I will open the rooms. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Vaishnavi is alone. I'm going to move somebody. I'm going to move Suman to Vaishnavi's room. Hold on. 414. 4. Yeah. Okay. Done.
Yeah, Suman and Vaishnavi are together.
Recording.
Time runner.
Okay. So who would like to share? I know we had almost 10 groups, isn't it? 9 or 10 groups.
Yeah, Sudha, I'll go. We are from group 1. This is Jyoti. I'll go first.
Sure, Jyoti.
I don't know. We have tried our best. Okay. Now the sentence was, you are selfish. You never consider my feelings.
Okay.
One sentence. Now the observation, we found out that it was more of blame, and the word selfish and never was more of a generalized statement. Okay?
Yeah.
So what we when we discussed, we found out that I and you were not coming along with this observation part. So we finally came down to a sentence wherein we thought that we'll include we, okay, in the statement. Like, I think that we are not on the same page. We do not understand each other's feelings. Okay. This is the observation part. Now, okay, we'll move on to feelings. Now, feelings, I guess we have found out that it was more of judgment, judged, angry. And the need part of the sentence was care, to be cared, to be heard, listen. And the request part was, may I please, okay, the request part is, may I please, Nirali, can you please tell me the statement once again? You said that, may I please.
The request was more related to giving more time, sharing more time, and making me feel heard or being listened to.
Okay. Can you share how did you, like, I know this observation is something I asked you to guess because we are not watching the situation. So if you were to convert it into a non-violent way, so how would you say, because I'm hearing you are saying the observation is something else here. Can you repeat what was the observation?
Yeah. Okay. So what we thought that if we consider you in the observation statement, it will be more of a blame. Okay. If I say that you already you is there. And if we consider that I think that you're not caring, or I thought that you never I think that you never consider my feeling. So this also we thought that somehow it is not meeting according to us. Okay. Now then we thought that we'll consider the feeling. Then we part we'll include we in the observation sentence. So then we thought that I think that we are not on the same page. We never consider each other feelings. So
okay,
that was so.
All right. So here's my thing. See, the observation is not about just what you doing, saying else. The observation is just, as I remember, like a camera, you're just going to share what you noticed.
Okay.
So here I understand, because in this statement, what was your statement? Can you repeat?
You are selfish. You never consider my feelings.
Okay. Now, this could be anything. Like, just to make it easy, I'm just saying, I'm imagining a situation here. Somebody is probably not listening, or somebody is probably not giving an eye contact, or I don't know, whatever it could be. So the situation is, we're just going to talk about that. What makes this person say this, that you're selfish? It's an interpretation. Or what makes this person say that you don't care for me, or something like that. You don't care for my feelings. What is that they notice? That is the observation here.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's not about changing the you to we or I. It's not that. And the feeling is about here, what did it make you feel? Like when you said that, you are selfish, you don't care for my feelings, the feeling that this person could be going through, we are now taking a guess here, is unnoticed, unheard, unseen, ignored. It could be anything. Yeah, I see Preeti, Krishnan, and Anurag in that order.
No, I want to come in, Sudha, just because I was part of group 1 along with Jyoti and Neil.
Okay.
I think, to be honest, I didn't know how to go about this. So we probably wanted to first express our blankness, at least my blankness, about how we could go about the OFNR. So that's exactly what I wanted to give it as a.
Okay.
So
If you were to express that blankness, where was the challenge, Krishnan?
No, I think even in terms of how do we frame the observation is where we were actually struggling for quite a lot of time.
Okay.
Quite a long time.
I know this could have been difficult because you need to take a guess. You have not witnessed something. It is just a statement. We are now trying to make it in a non-violent way, just for you to practice. I had given it. But had you witnessed something, right? You need to now make a guess. What would you have witnessed which would have made you feel this? I know it was a little difficult there. I agree with that, Krishnan.
The example that you shared in that was very, maybe that slide we'd had on the side we were talking, that would have been very handy.
Okay. Okay. Definitely, I think I will share that so that, you can have that, and you need to practice this
Right.
more. Yeah. Preeti?
Right. So I'll share what we discussed. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So the statement given to Shripad and me, it was, you always assume the worst, you are so negative. So the observation we made was, I have observed during our recent discussions that you always consider, we didn't use the word always actually, that you consider the worst case scenarios or negative possibilities in a proposal. It makes me feel demotivated and frustrated. My need for positivity and acknowledgement of wins is not met. May I request you to consider other possible outcomes and have a more balanced view?
Fantastic. Good try. Can you just repeat the first part? I couldn't hear clearly. I don't know if it is me or others as well.
I have observed during our recent discussions that you consider the worst case scenarios or negative possibilities.
Okay.
It makes me feel demotivated and frustrated. My need for positivity and acknowledgement of wins is not met.
Yeah.
I request you to consider other possible outcomes and have a more balanced view. So we were thinking, we imagined this as making a proposal to a colleague or someone, or to a sales team or whatever, and then always assuming the worst and saying, "Ye to hoga nahi."
Yeah. In fact, you don't have to every time say my need is not met. In fact, you can even say, I have a need for this. So it's like when we use more statements of I, and people also know it's about us. It's not about them. So you can even say that.
Sure.
Thanks.
However, my observation here, I mean, just a quick one, is that this probably needs a lot of scripting because this didn't come naturally to us at all.
Yeah, I know, because the situation you're not observing here, you need to make a guess of the situation. As I told Christian, it's a little tricky here, but since we wanted you to practice this, so it's okay, leave the observation, but as long as you're getting the other parts ready, I think observation, you can start practicing in your real time, in your professional space, at your home, right? Every time when you are probably going through some emotion which is not very pleasant enough for you, or you think, that, this is triggering something in me, probably you can pay attention to what actually happened. How can you just share that as an observation and not as an interpretation, or not making any meaning out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah. I see Anurag, Shubha, and Dr. Simi.
If it's okay, I just want to offer one suggestion. Like the observation that Preeti mentioned, sometimes words like negative are judgmental words. And, when you say these words, then the other person will become defensive again.
Exactly.
So maybe worst case is something that is a better usage than negative.
That is
because
why,
you're saying the other person is negative and you are positive. So you're putting it on a polarity.
very
And
well
therefore,
noticed, Anurag.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was teamed with Saravjot, so we had a good time discussing it. We don't know whether we are right, but I'll share what was the statement. It was, you are chaotic and disorganized. And Saravjot, please feel free to share if you feel I've missed out. So the first thing we put in is that I noticed that for the last few weeks you have been staying up late, and you mentioned that your KRAs are not getting met. Our need is that our team's dependence on you as a senior is such that our team's KRAs are also not getting met, and therefore it makes us quite jittery, or there was some other word also we used. We are feeling very disappointed and dissatisfied, and maybe request that you spend some time with our teams so that our KRA backlogs, which are dependent on you, get sorted out.
Yeah. That's a good one to go. I think, thank you for highlighting that, Anurag. I think the observation, the filter that we need to check is our observation free of any interpretation, free of any judgments, free of any blame, free of any criticism.
Yeah. What's a better way to frame this one? The one that I was sharing is there.
Well. I think it's very done well, because we are making a guess here, right, about the situation. It's done well, Anurag.
Okay, but I must submit it. One had to think about this while speaking, because this doesn't come naturally. I've read this book 2 years back, but even today when I practice it, I have to just pause, because labeling needs time, and even observation to be done in a non-judgmental manner needs time.
Absolutely. It needs time. And if I may add, based on my experience, Anurag, it needs a lot of practice. That's why I said I use NLP as a net practice in my personal spaces, in my professional spaces. And then that actually helps me in my coaching practice. So when I share an observation, this is the filter I use.
And also because we are all judging human beings, so it doesn't come naturally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shubha?
Yeah. Thank you, Sudha, for doing this for us. Myself and Pooja, we were there in room number 2. The statement we chose was, you always interrupt me. It is so rude. Yeah, the second statement. Observation is, I notice being interrupted when I try sharing my thoughts.
Correct.
Yeah? So here, there is another thing that I have noted down is, instead of saying when, if I say whenever, it may again trigger the other party.
Yeah.
And then the feelings, I feel angry, ignored, disrespected, irritated. Yeah? And I want to be, the need, I want to be heard fully and allowed to be complete without any interruption.
Absolutely. Yeah? So it's
and,
like you're stating your need, and also actually made a request.
Yeah, exactly. And then, the separate request also we have come up with. Yeah. If there are 2 different requests that we came up with. Yeah. One is, can I please complete what I started? Yeah. After writing that, I felt like, okay, again, that may trigger the other party.
Yeah.
Right. I'm kind of blaming them. You're not allowing me to complete.
And also, can I complete? It's also like you're asking a question, right? Instead, we can say that, my request is that I would
Okay.
like to be allowed to complete before
Okay.
we,
Okay.
before you share anything, I would like to complete. That's a request you're making.
Okay. Request.
I would like to
There's
be
one
heard
more.
completely before you share your views.
Okay. Okay. And then one more request that we created, can we please spend 5 minutes, so that I can share my thoughts.
Sure, sure. So request can be anything because it is your request. And then you state it in a very open way so that they understand what's your need.
Also, if you can say set aside time for everyone to share perspectives, can we?
Yes.
Can we talk about, it's not just about me, but you are interrupting everyone. I'm just thinking.
Yes, absolutely. Right. There are times, in our own heads, this happens very often in meetings. There are 1 or 2 people who dominate the meeting because they are very expressive. And then there are other people who take their time to express, but they never get a chance to express. So in their minds, they might be thinking, oh, this person is very dominating. And, probably they're tolerating this for a long time. And then in one of those days, or probably they'll have a side conversation, oh, this person is very dominating. But this person doesn't even know that they're dominating. So this whole nonviolent communication also helps others to understand more about themselves. And when we say it in a nonviolent way, hey, the last 2-3 meetings, or, there's been so many meetings, we find that you have a lot to share. And there are times that others are wanting to share their views. And then out of the 20 minutes, because 15 minutes you took time, it is becoming difficult for us to share. This is just what you've noticed. You're not making anything about it, like you're dominating. You took a lot of it. You're just saying that. And then you're saying that, we have a need to be heard. And the request is, can we set aside 5 minutes to hear everybody out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I know that we have overshot the time, Shri.
Yeah, you're top on time, and I need to jump into another meeting.
Yes,
so if you have to share something, you can share. And
just very quickly, because we have coaches here, I thought, yeah. So I like this quote by Rumi. I thought I should definitely share with you. So, out beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. So for me, one of the most important benefits of nonviolent communication is it really helps us to move beyond this right way of doing or right way of, right and wrong. And it really helps us to understand each other's needs. Obviously, a lot of empathy. And I'm just going to quickly rush in, and I'll be more than happy to connect offline if you have any more questions on this. Since all of you are coaches, right? I really want you to quickly share with me, what are some of the coaching competencies that you think is part of NVC?
Active listening.
Okay, yes. What else?
Evoking awareness.
Yeah, evoking awareness.
Absolutely.
Facilitating growth.
Yes.
Cultivating trust.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Is my slide going? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
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 Coaching mindset.
Yeah,
Maintaining
coaching mindset
presence.
also, right?
Yeah, maintaining presence.
Boss, yes, maintaining presence. So I've just listed out those competencies which I thought is very used in NVC. There could be more, maybe I didn't identify. I would really love to hear from all of you here who are coaches. Maybe you can share it on our group. What other competencies do you see that's being practiced in NVC as well? Yeah?
Yes.
So thank you so much for your time once again, and also for the active, engaging participation. It really helped me to explore more and deepen my understanding on the subject. I hope that you found this valuable too, worthy of your effort and time. Yeah.
Yes, very valuable.
Thank you, Sudha,
So
for
much.
very much.
valuable.
Really, really valuable.
Yes.
And the way that you tied the ICF core competencies was brilliant. Thank you so
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shri. Thank you, Sudha.
Thank you. Thanks, coach. Bye-bye.